that's primarily for the faculty members. And then there is a public YouTube stream where you can post questions or comments in the live chat, and we will read the questions from the chat on YouTube later in the discussion. Or you can join through the Teams, and after the presentation, you might have ask directly the speaker via Teams. But we would advise everyone to follow us on or watch us on YouTube, and eventually post a question or comment on the YouTube chat, which we will read and check later. Let me introduce everyone. Hi, I'm Karolínou Pláškovou. I'm Czech architect and urbanist. I studied as well social design at the Untitled in Vienna, and I'm curator and moderator. I'm curator of the lecture series No More Architecture, which we do in collaboration with the Fakulta of Architecture of Brno University of Technology and the Galerií Architektury Brno. And I will also moderate this lecture with the presenter Alejandra del Castilla from the collective NEdělat. First, I would like to thank a few people who participated to or helped to make this happen. Firstly, it's the dean of the faculty, Jan Kristek, and the director of the Galerií of Architecture of Brno, Gabriel Curtis, and also great help from Romana Tomášková from the Faculty of Architecture. And we have a team of technicians who help us to produce this whole stream, so big thanks to them as well. This lecture series is financially supported by the Ministry of Culture. Now I'm honored to introduce you a member of a Spanish collective NEdělat. It's an architect and urbanist, Alejandro del Castilla Sanchez, who the collective NEdělat is based in Madrid, was founded in 2011 by two members, Alejandro and his colleague Veronica Sanchez Carrera. Alejandro will be the presenter tonight. He studied architecture at the Madrid Technical School of Architecture and later urban planning at the Oxford Brookes University in England, and also postgraduate studies in city and environment. He's as well an expert in water, sanitation and hygiene, in international development and emergencies, and in development of human settlements in the third world for UNESCO. And since 2009, he has developed research about massive logic architectures, urban sanitation in emergencies in urban contexts, and he helps NGOs to run emergency architectures. NEdělat, the collective, has two main parts. It's the theoretical think tank, which is the center of critical thinking and urban experimentation. It organizes lectures and debates. It's also active in the academia through courses and organized workshops on its themes. And it publishes the last publication called From Subtraction was published in 2019. I'm sorry. Alejandro will maybe correct me. Then NEdělat has also a technical office called doNOT, which is the consulting office and develop projects, intervention in the city, territory, and a humanitarian world. Generally, the collective collaborates with universities, non-governmental organizations, work for city councils and public companies on the development of improvement strategies. It developed several master plans for cities. And as I mentioned earlier, it also works in emergency situations. But Alejandro will tell you in detail all the projects they do and their theoretical thinking, which is beyond that. And the basis is actually what the lecture is called. It's do not, redo, and undo, three main concepts of their approach. And I will now let Alejandro present you the work of the collective Nando. Thank you, Alejandro, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, Karolína. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here, even it's virtually. And thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much for I mean, the university just for holding up this event and this series, which I think are very, very interesting. Even the title of the series, we were really like I won't say surprised, but I say very glad to see that there's thinking beyond, like, you know, architecture and construction, you know, like so. Thank you very much for the invitation again, and I will share my screen. So, is it okay? Can you see the screen, or?
Is it okay? Now I can see the working screen. Like I see also the following.
Yeah, Karolína, can you see the screen if I?
Now you turned it off, but before I've seen it, yeah, now.
If I share it, yeah.
It seems working.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hello, we can see the screen on Teams. So we are watching.
Okay, thank you. So you just see one slide, or you see two slides?
I think two.
You think two? Okay. All right. So again, thank you very much for the invitation. So reflections on no more architecture, which is a topic which we have been working, as Karolína mentioned, since many years ago, because we believe that we transform the world, that also transforms us, and well, as we can see, I mean, we have the climate change, pollution, we have all this sprawl and construction, you know, we have all this crazy golf courses in the middle of the desert. So we are really transforming the environment. For example, like construction just generates around 40% of the waste in the European Union. You see, like, so waste, even spatial waste. So we think we have many problems that we want. I mean, we like to look at them as challenges for the future. And some of the challenges, some of those opportunities are sustainability, of course, security, equity, accessibility, mobility, inclusion, which are concepts that really define how good or bad our cities work. So, but still, if we have all those problems, we believe that the song still remains the same. Architecture has been operating in the same way for the last 50 years at least, or maybe more. So, and a proof of this is that still the question is, how would the cities of the future be? And if you Google that, you can find all this kind of crazy stuff, like all these you know, green facades, which are just fake, and 3D stuff. So we think the question is not what the cities of the future would look like, but if our cities have any future, right? So and we, in that sense, want to see our work something that it's kind of building future for the cities we already have. And we are looking at the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. These are something that many countries, more than 180, have signed. So, and they set some conditions and indicators for you know, like a different future for the cities we have now. So again, we also like to forget the assumption that we are what we do, and which is the assumption that architecture has until now. And because we believe that we are not what we do, but maybe probably we are where we don't do, where we are just in pure sense, where we stand, no? So that's why we believe that we can do more and better with less and even with nothing. And this is not something that is our invention. No, we just, a friend of us says, we just copy and just copy and copy from things we see, we hear, and that they're deep in our mind. So this is something that's been happening many years ago in art, music, and so doing less, doing even nothing, and then with that thinking, we came across these three concepts, which are undo, redo, and do not. And these concepts perfectly illustrate what we think is a way of doing architecture and looking at problems in a different way, right? Like, which is, as I mentioned, building from subtraction. We do this from two sides. The first one, like the think tank, the Urban Experimentation Center, which, as Karolína mentioned, has produced like the theoretical basis of what we do and some thinking in this book, From Subtraction, or even in this new atlas. But we also have a technical office in which we turn all that ideas into concrete proposals and projects. And in these two legs of the office, more than 150 people from different disciplines have joined us. And we have all worked towards what we call real sustainability. And why real or strong sustainability? Because first, it has to be environmental, then it has to be social, cultural, and the last one has to be the economical. So the economical sustainability has to be under the cultural one, then under the social one, and then under the environmental. So if we have a new approach, we should have a different methodology and, of course, different materials. And those materials are uncertainty, and that's very clear now with the outbreak. But even before, in the last years, uncertainty was our reality. We were sure of what we were doing, tomorrow, and where we wanted to go in the following 20 years. But we were not sure of what was going to happen in the following 3 months, or even in 2 years. As I mentioned, now with the outbreak, this has changed, dramatically, and we don't know what's going to happen next week. So we live in uncertainty. That's our reality. But also our reality is that we have, the preexistence, things that already exist and that we already have, and those things are just a call of not looking at the future, like only doing new things, which is also something that architecture has been doing in the past years. Like, the shiny new was kind of, making us forget that we still have many things, like many things with a lot of, cultural layers as the towns, cities. And then we believe that a new material that we need to consider is flexibility. We need to be flexible enough not to deliver close, perfect, and finished projects, but projects that are open enough to adapt and to be resilient and to change in case there's a need of change, and to go back and forth and again be redesigning themselves. And the last one, which has to do with this flexibility, is time, of course, and time has to be incorporated as a new material, because again, we don't know. We know our present, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future. And then when we're looking at time, we're looking at three things. Like, one is the essential, what is essential and needs to be done right away. That's clear. Then what is necessary, probably what should happen in like 2, 3, 4 years. And then what is desirable, which is the utopia, and which is what we want to reach, or where we're going to go, like in the following 20 years. So these three states of time should be incorporated into projects. So again, and you see, as I told you, we started as as a think tank, as an office that was thinking before, like, doing or constructing or whatever. So we ask ourselves many questions. So, and this also goes for you. I mean, the question is not how we do it, which has been like the concern of architecture in the lately. How do I do a skyscraper? How I do a whatever, a museum? But the question for us is, do we really have to do it? Or maybe not. So do I really have to do this or not? And then answering that question, we believe that many times we have to undo things. Understanding undoing as reducing, minimizing, eliminating, demolishing, and effectively responding to excess, right? So again, please ask yourselves this question: what do we need to eliminate to improve our environment? And again, we need to redo, and understanding redoing as regenerating, reversing, recovering, relocating, restituting, and valuing what we have, going back again to pre-existence. And how can our heritage be more profitable? I mean, if new things are profitable, of course our heritage can be profitable. And again, sorry, looking at profitability as something cultural, social, environmental, and economical. And of course we have to do nothing or do not, which means to respect, to preserve, and to protect. Demonstrating the sustainability and cost effectiveness of not doing, right? So what are the benefits of not building? So I will try to answer these questions going through the works of the technical office and some of the works that we have implemented, looking at these three ways of action and answering these questions. So first of all, undoing. So the first one was this is an old one. It's in the south of Spain, and it's about dismantling an illegal hotel in a natural park, recovering the landscape and the natural environment, and conserving the beach where the hotel stands. So that is a hotel in a natural park, and what we were proposing was kind of dismantling again, like undoing it with a selective demolition, which allows us then, selective demolition is like, building piece by piece, like I'm building piece by piece, which allows us to do a lot of waste management, recycling and reusing around 98% of materials, including steel, concrete, aluminium, whatever, all the copper, everything. And then also doing an environmental recovery of the beach. And all this was under the umbrella of a social economical approach, which was engaging local actors, local institutions, schools, even the firemen, which were doing kind of, fireproofs on materials and stuff like that. So we were generating knowledge and also employment, So as you see, first month we have all the selective, the waste, the environmental recovery, and the social economical approach. And as the hotel disappears, all these activities were happening, and all these things were involved in the final recovery of the beach, right? So final results will be the total dismantlement of the hotel, the management of around 97% of the waste, the recovery of the beach and the natural environment, and all this social economical approach looking towards the sector, which has a lot of future, and then a lot of awareness and participation of the population, but also of the local institutions. We developed this technical report and study together with Greenpeace, and now it has a terribly long legal process, but it's kind of ongoing, and let's see what happens in the following months. So this is how the beach should look like, right? So the next one, it's quite the same, Valdecañas in Spain again, and this is an island, as you see, if you can see my mouse. This is the original, how the island looked like, and this is like a golf course, a hotel, some apartments, luxury apartments. So again, we were our proposal was to do again selective dismantlement, you know, managing the waste, you know, evaluating here and like the environmental footprint, and then doing an ecological restoration of the island. Then going on to the redo way, we have here in Madrid, and this one is about redoing, dismantling, and recovering. We have Atocha demonstration, which is one of the first iron structures in Madrid. This is from the 19th century, and although with the restoration and the extension of the train station in the 90s, the old station was restored, and it was apparently used as a hall and a gateway to go into the high-speed trains or even go out into the city. It was, as you maybe can see here, it was completely full of stalls, stands, you know, advertising, publicity, kind of, you know, small bars and everything. So our client, the public client in this case, they wanted to recover the station and the building, just to again, you know, show to everyone like the value the building has itself, and you know, and its cultural heritage, and also to improve the connection of the building with the city. And in this case, the project was very simple. It was about just cleaning, you know, like, and deleting what was you know, what was not needed anymore. And again, going back to the flexibility to this new material I was talking about before, we didn't deliver, like, we didn't give the client completely a closed project or even a project. We gave them a tool for decision making, in which priority, implementation time, and cost was set. So depending on if it was high or low priority, I mean, how long it took to implement any of the actions, or the cost of the action, the client can choose what to do. So we are not giving just one solution, again, one closed project, but a battery of solutions in which, according to the priority, implementation, and cost, the client can choose. You know, so sorry for that because it's in Spanish, but again, you see priority, time, budget. So if 3 of them are green, then you should go for this action or intervention 2A, which is in this case related to the urban space around. This one is related to the energy, I mean the purple one. So you should go for the green ones, then green and yellow, and then of course if you have like it's not very, you know, priority is low and it takes a long time to implement it and it's very costly, probably maybe you should forget it. So in this case for the station we gave something like 100 different solutions, and they have started to implement them. So this is how the station looked like when we did this like 2 years ago, and the idea was to just, you know, clean to finally, like, you know, reusing like the original structure. I mean, just have like something like very much more clean and organized. The next one in Guadalupe, in Spain. Guadalupe is in the west of Spain. is a village which is I think it's in the UNESCO list because it has a huge monastery, which is, I mean, like, yeah, so heritage. So this one is about tourism, accessibility, and heritage, and again, it's about cleaning and just removing what is not needed. So here's the monastery, just for you to kind of, you know, contextualize the intervention. And the clear gray is like the old part of the village, and then the other one is like the village itself, and then like kind of the countryside. And here we have like these 3 questions again, because I forgot to say that Guadalupe is very touristic. So basically, here we had the problem of how to balance like the local demands that were totally overwhelmed by tourism activity, and what dedicated elements that were kind of, you know, completely, you know, colonizing the whole town should be eliminated to enhance like the citizen and the use. And and even if it was possible to enhance the accessibility of residents and tourists at the same time. So again, what we did first was analysis and diagnosis of the situation with a lot of, you know, like the neighbors, a lot of, you know, as local associations, institutions, the municipality. Then we have, after analyzing and having the diagnosis, we have some proposals, and again, not a closed proposal, but many open proposals. Again, at the same tool as I showed before. Then we started, we have started, or they have started to implement them, and then there's an evaluation process in which you can see if those proposals are working or not. In case they are not working, you go back to the analysis and diagnosis, and those proposals can be changed, adapted, reshaped, and then implemented again. So, and this with a very, very, very low cost of money, because you start little by little and see what's the action of, you know, that implementation. Well, when it's one of the analysis maps that we have of the municipality. Then with the third strategy, which is doNOT, then we have, you know, like 2 projects here. I think of 3. First one, Kalmar in Sweden. This is about not doing, but also about conserving, densifying, and putting more complexity into the existing grid. And this was part of a competition that we won, I think 2014. And so the aim of the competition was to build, how to build there, which, as you can see, is a beautiful wetland, which floods in summer and then freezes in winter. But it's a beautiful landscape. So the aim of the competition was, how do we build there? So we don't wanted that place to look like this. So we decided that what we had to do was not constructing in those areas, even dismantle some barriers that I will show you later, that were, you know, like kind of separating the wetlands of the town, and then reuse some of the urban voids in the existing grid, right? So the strategy was to make city while valuing and you know, protecting the landscape. And we were using this equation. It was developed by the local agency of urban ecology in Barcelona, in which says that the more urban complexity we have, the more complex your town or city is, the less energy is required by the system to function. So if we put a lot of complexity in a system, it will consume less energy, right? So first of all, again, not to, well, here inside the dot line, you have like the existing neighborhood, like the existing neighborhood, like a town, you know, satellite town of the main of Kalmar. So here's no construction of this place, just conserve it, preserve it. And then again, again, eliminating barriers. So there was a road 22. So what we proposed was to divert this road here, right? And then turn this road into a street. And you will see that what positive effects that has. And again, we started to study, I mean, how far was the town from the sea and from the park, from the wetlands, which can be considered as a huge public park, right? So you see the longest, you have 20-minute walks, you know, 7.5, 8 minutes ride in a bike, you know. So we studied also which were the woodland areas we had inside the town, which we wanted to preserve and conserve. Oh, sorry. And then which other voids we wanted to use, what kind of services and institutions we needed, and what kind of mixed use to make it complex we needed as well. So that was the result. What you see in black is all the new, you know, like the uses inserted in the existing town. You can see, like, you know, a house for the elderly, a park, you know, games for the kids, a kindergarten, school, supermarket, bars, whatever, you know. And again, as we had turned this street this road into a street, there was an easy connection with the woodlands, with the park. You know, well, this are some images of how we were occupying those empty voids. and not touching the woodlands, densifying the existing. And what happened was was that this area here was preserved and then was a public park for all those residents. So you don't have, like, imagine if we had built here, then you will have, like, you know, first-class residents close to the sea in the middle of the park, and second-class residents, which were I mean, far away from this area. And even those second-class residents were about to be they were the previous residents. So with this intervention, what we reached it was like a first-class neighborhood for everyone, with a public park nearby, the sea nearby, and a lot of activity here. So you don't have to leave just to buy or whatever and to go to the supermarket. You have it in a walking distance. So for us, this project is, which is a master plan we develop and still ongoing with the municipality. We somehow demonstrate that the subtraction are not doing are relevant and necessary intervention alternatives that generate value and profit, right? The next one, another competition we won, and just try to go fast. The same, no construction, subtraction. This is in Spain, same circumstances, working in public space and patios network, which can be cultural heritage and a new square. So very quickly, this is Don Benito, as you see, small village of around 8,000 people. And the aim of the competition, again, was to build an underground car park in the center, just to make, you know, the surroundings of the main square plaza pedestrian. We thought that was a mistake, because if you have an underground car park, then all the cars will be just going, you know, like that will be an attraction point for cars. I mean, you have to use those streets to go into the car park. So our proposal was not to build a car park. You see, well, that's public space. Not to build a car park because of that, because this is apparently the public space that you have, when it's used by the cars, it reduces more than 60%. So we said we don't need to build any underground car park, but we need to, you know, somehow limit vehicle transit, then pedestrianize like all the center, and establish some external, you know, parking lots, because you can cross the center in around, you know, 15 minutes walk. So some external, you know, peripheral parking lots, so you don't need to build that underground car park, and then enhance, you know, and extend some of the green vias already existing. That was the main strategy. This is the only pedestrian space that they have. And then we discovered, and together with the strategy and talking about what the identity and cultural heritage of Don Benito, that they have these beautiful patios, right? And they have many, but they were public. Sorry, they were private, and they were not connected. So the proposals, once we got rid of the cars in the center because they were, you know, parking outside, what we realized that it would be great just to connect all the patios and have this public connected network. And this we could also use this, you know, as establishing kind of a cultural event that it happens in many other cities in the south of Spain, you know, like having a week of patios or something where all of them are open and they can be visited. And in any case, I mean, we plan like this pedestrian network, just connecting all of them. So again, not doing anything just can be profitable in terms of, you know, this will enhance tourism for sure, because I mean, Don Benito is not very touristic, but people will come just to see the patios, and of course you pedestrianize all the center, and of course you're saving a lot of money. So again, you're improving the city, making it more sustainable with not doing anything. These were other, you know, like uses of the patios and many other things in many other places. Sorry. And just the last one I want to talk about. This is a recent work we've developed. It's called. It was in Malaga, in the south of Spain, and it's how to use urban voids in the city just to decarbonize and renaturalize. And so urban voids are quite what define a town or a city. as you can see here in Venice, or you can see here in New York. So how were the urban voids defining this, 3 neighborhoods on the outskirts of Malaga, the center of the city is around here. So apparently there was a lot of land that could be constructed under the law. In the urban plan for Malaga. So, but many of it's empty. So how was affecting like these neighborhoods, and how we turn that into positive actions. So again, what you can see here, white is occupied, gray and black is vacant. But all this space can be constructed, can be built, but it's completely, each of these radius, its distance is 1 kilometer. So sorry, no, 2 kilometers. So so as you see, a lot of empty spaces, which of course makes this neighborhoods very, very unsustainable. You need a lot of energy, you need a lot of infrastructures, you need a lot of roads, so a lot of energy consumption. Because this is just the opposite to compact. So how about using and well, this is this is the different types of land that you have. Agricultural land, industrial land. Here is a big university around here. So we studied the different urban plots, from the garden city to a technological park here, or farmland, even to like more consolidated part of the city with blocks. And through that analysis, and I'm going through this very fast, sorry, because we're going to have the time. Through this, we were analyzing the different types of voids in each of these types of city, right? And analyzing and classifying, the different types of urban voids. And with those urban voids, we have different, intervention strategies, and we were using those voids as urban generators. So sorry, and again, we were providing the same tool, right? We have, what is the objective, main objective, decarbonize, renaturalize, and we have what kind of, void we have, what kind of proposals can we have, working with the void and with the different types of voids, which are the specific proposals, what is the tool we have to modify, or just to be able to implement any of those specific proposals, and then priority, cost, and time of implementation. And then just to finish, this is what we're working now on, and I will just, this is an open project, so I would like to invite you all to participate in case you want. This is an international congress. We started it on the 23rd November, and it's called Nothing is More, and it's what we call the undo, redo, and do not again, and strategies to achieve the sustainable development goals. And as you can see here in the agenda, we want to be like a meeting point of urban and territorial solutions. So it has like different things. It has a cartography, it has even a certificate, and a congress. So the cartography is just open now for proposals. So you have a proposal that you believe that through undoing, redoing, or not doing meets any of the of the sustainable development goals in either urbanism, architecture, geography, wherever. You can read it here, or even in our webpage up there. You are more than welcome to participate in this cartography, and even if you want your practice to be certificated under the criteria of real sustainability and the criteria of NUNDO, you can also do that. And then a congress is taking place in March. We still don't know if it's going to be physical or virtual, but that will happen in March. Here you can see the cartography, but if you click, then different projects appear with different information. And then we also have an international contest for students, where you also can upload your proposal, and it will be a contest with prize. And well, that's where we are working now, because what we want to accomplish here is that we want to have, like this, a lot of, like this battery of different solutions that are working with really sustainable practices to reach what at the beginning of a beginning I mentioned, which is like the Sustainable Development Goals as a way to have a real future for our city, because nowadays it doesn't seem to have a lot of future. So I think that's it, like 30 minutes. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And well, I think we have now time for some questions, answer, like an open debate that I will be more than happy to hear. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Many thanks for your presentation. I hope everyone hears me again. I will start with some questions, and I think the first one maybe you hear quite often, but I mean, I kind of admire our approach, but do you think it's actually transferable or applicable also in another conditions outside of our developed world, outside of the European conditions? And because I would say that all these principles you can apply in areas which are not growing so fast, but can you take them also to another areas? Sorry, I should just ask you to.
Yep.
I should ask you to stop sharing the screen.
Oh, sorry. Here we are. Yeah. So, well, two things here. I think, of course, this is really applicable in our. I don't like the word, but just for everyone to understand, in like our developed world.
I don't want to use it, but.
I don't like the term, but anyway. So probably it's really applicable. I mean, I think we have empty dwellings and empty housing everywhere in, I don't know, in Europe, North America, Australia, whatever, even in Asia, even in China. So I think these principles really apply here, and in other places where you need to do things. I mean, for us, it's completely fair and right to do. That's why the question for us is, do we really need to do it? If we need to do it, we should do it. And another different thing is, and again, do we really need to do it? I mean, but the answer should be, we need to do it because it's good for many people, not because someone is getting a lot of profit, because you are selling the land, or because you are just, moving like finances by constructing, as they do in China, for example, or because I generate, like economical movements or stuff like that. So if there's people who need housing, if there's a need of a museum, of a school, of a hospital, of course you need that. And as you mentioned before, me and my colleagues, we work in humanitarian aid, and we've been building, hospitals or schools or stuff like that. So, of course, if the answer to the question is yes, you need to do it, yeah, of course, let's go and do it. But we believe that in our context, there's not a real need of doing anything else. Again, because in the past years, we forgot about what we had, and we just only focused in the new things, no? In the new, I mean, architects in architecture, we have like this aura, like of kind of demigods, where, we have a blank paper and we just could design anything, and that was going to change the world, and that's far away from reality, we believe.
Okay, thanks. And did it ever happen to you that you have another contractor than a public municipality or NGO? Like, can you imagine that some private developer would come to you or similar practice and ask you to design a project for them, or him, or she, here?
Well, that's a very good question, because actually it doesn't happen yet. I mean, that's something that we're looking at. I mean, we're really looking forward to it, and we're looking at with a certificate. Because we think that there's a lot of people, for example, certificating that their practices are efficient, but that efficiency is quite, is a bit a cheater, right? Because efficiency always goes, you know, let's say like goes with the system you're using. So I mean, and being efficient doesn't mean that you're sustainable. So as the same as people wants to, you know, like be certificate as efficient, we really think that in the near future people would really like to be certificated as sustainable. And again, and that's the tricky thing about words. Words can be manipulated, you know, and turn upside down. So that's why I was talking about this real sustainability, that it's, I mean that where environment is on the top of it, and then we have, you know, cultural, social, and then economical. So we believe that this would happen in the near future, and we'd be glad just to have any private contract. Yeah. But I think that needs also a change of you know, of state of mind, and we need to understand that profit not only comes with money. I mean, that there's also cultural profit, social profit, that there's like urban profit in, you know, making a better place for our, and especially looking at what next generations are gonna be, you know, where next generations are gonna be living. I mean, we need to answer that question as well. What kind of world do we want to leave our, you know, our sons and daughters and the next generations? So if we start to look at profit or business in not only in a financial way, I believe that we should, or we expect to have private clients.
How successful do you feel with this this approach? Like, do you feel more and more support, or?
I mean, I think yes. I mean, we are optimistic, and as I was, I mean, with the Congress, I mean, we did a similar Congress like 4 years ago, and we found that there was a lot of people working in similar things, and even from different, you know, disciplines, even in maths, physics, some engineering. So not only arts, which apparently you can, I mean, you can say that they have no use or whatever, but and we find that more and more people is looking at things in a different way, and it's realizing that we cannot have this, you know, infinite and eternal growing, no? And that's another mistake, just assuming that development is the same as growing, you know, and it's not. So yeah, I'm confident that things should be changing, yeah, or are changing. Yeah, the times are changing, yeah.
Okay, then maybe I'll ask, on your website you state that you are also involved in teaching at the universities or leading workshops for students or anyone. Do you think that the current academic programs are able to prepare well the future professionals for the challenges which are ahead of us?
I think, and I must apologize for this. I think not really. I think the academy is part of the system, so it means that the academy is like an old guy, you know, with old ideas. And I think the speed of change outside the academy and the way things change in the academy, they have, you know, they have completely different paces. And I believe, and at least I mean, the different institutions we know, and of course there are plenty of exceptions, but the main, you know, like the main line of the academy is still to prepare architects for construction, and still to venerate all those idols, you know, like the old idols, the old architects, and to venerate the figure of a person that is able to change with his or her design completely the world, and, you know, and that's kind of a genius, and I think that's completely old-fashioned, and that's completely out of reality, and I think that's also happening. And well, this is a good proof of this series of lectures, you know, which are just kind of thinking about other stuff. But still the academy, and I'm not talking about teachers, but I'm talking about the academy as an institution. I think it's kind of still too old and slow to adapt to the uncertainty we have these days.
Okay, thanks.
And sorry, Carol, just to I must say that, for example, like new proposals, different proposals are quite popular at university, because I think also, students are a bit, tired or fed up with this kind of, like, let's look at the masters. I mean, they're fine, but, not only.
Okay. Now I have a question concerning the basically your second approach, redo, or undo. When you talked about demolition, I know there exists collectives or companies which try to dismantle buildings and use the material which it was from. And I think there was this discussion that well, generally it's more it's easier and cheaper to demolish building completely than trying to reuse anything of it, because it's simply very complicated. So the costs, or maybe also the travel, the cost and the management all around it, it's not simply it's hard to argument for slow dismantling and using the materials. I have a friend who tried to do it in Prague, and I think the problem was with the travel costs of the material and then the storage, that was basically not worth saving the material. How do you think it would be possible, or how to argument, or is it still worth? Do you think it's worth to dismantle and use the materials of the buildings?
Yeah, we think it is, and we believe it is, and that was what that both two technical reports, but especially the first one of the hotel in El Algarrobico hotel, was trying to demonstrate. I mean, I think that here there are many things. One is that you have to, I mean, unbuilding or dismantling is as complicated as building. So you need to know what you do. Of course, then you need the market, and this varies from one country to another, even from one region inside a country to another. You need to know the market, or if there is market to buy some of those those materials or not. And then also this has to do with with the law and with permissions. And for example, some countries are willing. And they reward you if you sell or recycle materials. Some others don't. And then also when you are just demolishing something and just putting all the waste away, you have to pay a fee. In some countries that fee, or even in some regions, that fee is very, very cheap. In some others, it's very expensive. So there are kind of different variables and different things that you have to consider before looking at a selective dismantlement. And then again, if you're not only looking at money, that's another thing, right? Because if you're looking at that the dismantlement is taking like two years, like the same time as it takes to construct something, then you're generating also a lot of employment. Then you can do as we were proposing in Algarrobico. You kind of giving it could be used as a technical lab to do many experiments. You can also teach people there, like schools and stuff like that. So if you're not looking only at the final euros of the equation, then things really balance. And I will say that, of course, they favor like the selective dismantlement. And of course, if you're not looking at the ecological footprint or the carbon footprint, like demolishing with an explosive, with a metal ball or whatever, you have a huge footprint. So that's not only, if you only look at the money, probably in many places it's not worth it. But I think there's many other many other things you have to put inside that equation.
And if you actually try to reconstruct or revitalize a building, many old buildings or some buildings from certain epochs might have some technical problems, or could be very difficult to, let's say, get into a condition which would be sustainable anymore. Like then you would also agree to demolish them, or there should be also equation or a balance between what to demolish, what to dismantle, what to reconstruct, or what to leave in the state in which it is, right?
Yep, totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, and
I mean, and also, I mean, and this is a tricky thing, but I don't know. I mean, it's very funny because, for example, with our students, sometimes we just one of the exercises we ask them to do is just to analyze something and do a diagnosis. And it's very difficult for them not to propose things to do, right? I think that's inside our architectural mind. We have to propose, we have to find a use for something. So sometimes, I mean, and that's why we also value, like, you know, like urban voids and empty spaces. Sometimes it's nice to have spaces that can be anything. I mean, each space don't has to have a use, you know. This I mean, we have this with you know, with I mean, like all rationalism and, you know, the modern movement, but we don't need to have a function for everything. So again, yeah, I totally agree that some stuff can be rehabilitated, some other not, some has to be demolished, some has to be dismantled. But for me, we have always to put real sustainability in the first place.
Okay, and also in those many of your projects relate to tourism, and it might seem that you are an enemy, or that tourism is enemy of you. But especially for Spain, I guess it's a big part of the country's what's the word for it? Like GDP, the country's economy. And
like country's income, yeah.
So you can argue that that it provides employment for many people, or at least in some areas. Did you also work on some study which would you cannot just say tourists go home, because then those locals might lose their jobs, right? Or what else would they do? And I understood you tried to find a balance between the local citizens and the tourists, but can you maybe elaborate on that? Like whether you did some theoretical study on how to balance the tourism?
So yeah, we are a part of a research group.
Sorry to interrupt you. Or maybe if you try to propose, like, how should the recreation of the 21st century should look like? Like, should we stop going to bath at the sea, or to watch the heritage, or is it bad?
No, it's not. It's not really that. I mean, it hasn't to be that radical. It could be, but it hasn't to be that radical. But again, I mean, we are part of a research group at the university in Malaga, which is called Over Tourism, and it's a research is going to be taking place in the following. I mean, it started a year ago, and it's going to take place in the following 2-3 years, and it's looking for alternatives and solutions to over tourism. I mean, I think tourism itself is not bad. The problem is when you only look at numbers, and the problem is when tourism is just monofunctional. And, you know, people it's only, you know, looking at tourism as a way to have an income. And because then you have, you know, COVID outbreak, and then tourism stops, and then you're, I mean, I'm sorry for the word, but you're fucked. I mean, so one of the problems is that you cannot be, I mean, your economy cannot be monofunctional. And then the other huge problem is that once tourism takes over residents, then tourism is the one that starts to construct, build, and configure the city. And so that means that people that comes to visit your town for, let's say, if we look at these big cruise ships, for, let's say, 4 hours, are defining the way the center of the city looks like. And they are changing all, you know, how to say that, they are changing the whole way the town or the city was working, and they are reshaping it. So I think we need to, I mean, there's an urgent need of just looking at tourism in a different way, and to just try to propose different solutions in which both of them have a balance. And in Guadalupe, which was the example you were mentioning, it was not so difficult because, I mean, it's a small town, so I mean, there were many alternatives. And we start to use like kind of instead of having a lot of signs and posts and stuff like that, we start having like, you know, digital information. We stop, for example, buses going into the main square. We were, I mean, having like different small solutions, which were easy to implement because, again, it's a small city. How to do that in Prague, for example, in Paris, in Barcelona, I mean, that's not so easy. But what is sure is that if we keep over tourism as it was before, you know, like before March or before 2020, our cities will have a problem and they will die of success, and the whole configuration of the city will be just, you know, changed and reshaped in a bad way, because at the end of the day, when tourists leave, you're the one that remain there and you're the one that live there, but the city is just kind of, you know, like a scenario, you know, like a market. I mean, it will look like Las Vegas, and so, you know, it will be a fake. So that's what we are against. But we think, of course, that you cannot stop tourism and you cannot stop traveling. I mean, and that's an interesting debate as well. Do we have to right to travel? Do we have to right to be tourists or not? Is it a need or not? Maybe it's a need because it's also a source of knowledge. So yeah, it's quite an interesting debate, and I don't have the answer. But what I know for sure is that over tourism is reshaping our cities and is doing it in a negative way.
Okay, I'll encourage everyone to post questions if anyone wants to, because I'm running out of them. So I'll ask basically the last one, and then I'll give space to the others. But my question, I guess that the COVID pandemic somehow made many cities unprepared for the situation. So the life in many cities basically stopped or dramatically changed. And I think many cities or many communities can suffer from that because we were not prepared for that. Do you think this situation might change attitudes of those in decision making positions, that we can learn something from it and change our how we govern cities or communities? I mean, in a long term.
I think that people personally, probably many people personally, will change and will try to find ways of doing things in a different way. I don't think the whole system is going to change. I think it's just waiting for this outbreak just to, you know, to finish or just to pass, or to find ways to live with it. But I regret to be a bit pessimistic, but I don't think like the whole system will change. And I don't think that I don't think there's a way of changing the system like that, you know, like saying, okay, we don't have to be consumers anymore, but we have to, or we don't need to grow anymore, but we need to degrow. Okay, that's a good theory, that's a good start, but I don't think things change that easily. Or I think that we have to start little by little, and we have to start doing actions that somehow change things. And many small actions just detonate big actions. And so, yes and no. Yes for individuals, no for the system, I will say.
Okay, thanks. We have a question from Zuzana Zaj. She asks, first, she thanks for the talk, and she would like to understand how come that increasing the complexity of cities leads to less energy use, that she believed it was the other way around?
Well, I mean, if you if you first of all, I mean, if you have complexity in a place, and by complexity, I'm also referring to proximity, of course. Of course, you cut dramatically like the private transport. So in the case of Kalmar, for example, all the residents were using the car to go shopping, to drop their kids at school. I don't know, to go to a bar. If you have all that in your neighborhood, just a minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes walk, you don't use a car. So cars are responsible of, you know, a huge percentage of all the carbon emissions. So that's one of them. Then if you have like, you know, diverse and complex nucleus, it's more easy just to plan, you know, public transport to go to one of those points, to those centers, to the other. So again, the more public transport you use, the less unsustainable you are. And then when you have everything close and near, everything complex, you save a lot of, you know, public infrastructures, lighting, you know, water pumping, you know, sewage, how you pick up the waste, everything. So the more complex and dense places, the more sustainable, and the less and the less carbon emissions, you know, you do, and the less you contaminate.
It just reminds me the proposal of Paris mayor who decided to rebuild or reorganize Paris into 15-minute city, and she basically, well, she didn't achieve it yet, but she achieved to persuade people to want it in her governing time. I think it's like 4 or 5 years, and now she got the she won the elections again. So I thought that's interesting. I would again. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I think that's a key person with power to change things. So in case a person hasn't changed its mentality, I mean, I'm going back to your question of if changes would change after COVID or not. I think if you have someone with power and with the capacity to change things, change the mentality, then yeah, that's a way of course changing many things. But normally that doesn't happen, unfortunately.
Okay, I would encourage again everyone, if anyone wants to ask anything, you have time now. Otherwise I ask, and then we'll run out of questions and end this session. But I'm also curious. You mentioned that you have over 150 collaborators who joined you through those almost 10 years of practice. How do you how do you feel in the, because I guess it's often very multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary collaboration. How is it? You are an architect, and architects are often in need of control of everything. Are you in charge of leading the team, or how is it working with the other professions?
It's working really well. I mean, it's a bit different in the association as it is in the technical office. But I mean, we tend to be quite horizontal. So I mean, we debate everything, we discuss a lot, and we just take a lot of time just to make decisions. I mean, with the technical office, it's a bit different because, I mean, sometimes you got a schedule, maybe a tight schedule, so you don't have, I mean, you move ahead and you have to make decisions, and that has to be fast sometimes. But if not, normally with the think tank, everything is, you know, discussed, and everything is argumented and argued, and we go back and forth. And with people from different disciplines, it's just the same. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. And we found that that's really good. I mean, and we've learned a lot of that, you know, multi-complex environment. And sometimes it may be a bit of a pain, but at the end of the day, you realize that it's much better. As I mentioned, you know, like with the technical office, we cannot do it that way all the time because when you have a schedule, I mean, you have to, you know, I mean, you cannot be late, so you sometimes you have to make decisions a bit more fast, and with not having like consensus at all, but and also because most of these people, not most, but a lot of these people, I mean, it was not people that we either hired or contracted, but people that came to us because they were interested in our work, in the way that we look at things, and they wanted to propose us a project, or they have an idea and they wanted to develop it with us. So it was not only us looking for people, but also people coming to us and just all working under the umbrella of the theoretical basis of the office.
So you had never had problems to make a decision, including all the perspectives of different professions?
We had problems of time because sometimes it took a lot, but no, not really.
Because I often see that although architecture is kind of a very general education, or it's kind of technical and artistic and it goes into humanities. I think, or at least in my experience with the Czech architects, many of them likes. Let's say, some insight into sociology or politics or anthropology, which is actually, I feel it's needed for the practice. So there is also a problem in the vocabulary that they use similar words but speak of something else. So it's very difficult to find a common ground to speak or to discuss the things on the projects. I guess you somehow learn it through the process. But do you have any advice for the students of architecture?
Yeah, I think first of all we have to be humble, and we have to forget this assumption that we know everything and that we are leading whatever. And that we have the truth is with us, and we know what people need. This is one of the first things that you realize, that when, for example, you do a participatory diagnosis, you see that people have a very clear idea of what is working and what is not working, and it has probably nothing to do with yours, or at least is complementary to yours. So first of all, I would say that we need to be humble and to forget that we know what's going on everywhere and we have solutions for everything. That's the first thing. Then you were mentioning words, and I totally agree with you that sometimes we have all this professional language which is very close, and we need to use words. We need to adapt our vocabulary to the audience. So we need to find common words and common grounds just to discuss things, and that's also very important. We need to make that effort. And third, again, you were mentioning sociology, anthropology, geography. We need to assume again as well and understand that we might have some idea what sociology is, but of course the sociologist has the knowledge that we don't have. So yeah, let's listen and learn. I mean, and I think that it's quite simple. It's not so difficult. It's just a matter of just taking your time to listen, putting everything on, just discuss everything, and giving everything the same importance. Just not trying to say no, my architectural part is more important than your part. Everything is, as important. So I think that would be like the key things to do. And of course have a good temper, and that's also I think important.
Okay, great. We have one more question in our YouTube chat. Tomáš asks, what do you think of sea reclamation in the Netherlands? In a way, recycling and reusing the land.
What do I think of sea reclamation? No, that's a difficult one. Again, I'm sorry to repeat myself, but I would refer to do we really need to do it? I mean, there's no other way that we have learned to do. I mean, to lodge people. If there's no other solution, then and we need housing for people, then it's okay. I mean, but looking at technology as the solution for everything, it's what I think is completely unsustainable. I mean, we are now in a time that we do things because we can do them. I mean, we do a skyscraper that it's 300 meters high because we can do it. Technology allows us to do almost everything. You know, we build on the sea because we can do it. We have the technology to do that. But it doesn't mean that we need to do it, that there's a need to do that. That's completely essential. So again, if there's a simpler, you know, a more simple way, a cheaper way, a more sustainable way to lodge people than building on the top of the sea, you know, I will advocate for that.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I think that would be everything. I would just advise everyone who is watching us that the collective Nanda has a website where you can check all the projects they have done. They have a YouTube channel where they collected some of their other presentations, and you can buy either ebook or a printed book in English or in Spanish. The last book, which is called, no, I lost it. From
that one, from
Subtraction, published
right.
at the DPR Barcelona Publishing House.
Yeah.
And check the student international contest. I would thank Alejandro that he joined us tonight. Many thanks to you, and thank you for the presentation, and thank everyone for watching us. And follow our Facebook because we'll let you know when the next lecture will happen of the lecture series.
Okay, thank you very much. That was my pleasure to be with you tonight, and hope the next one we can meet in person.
Yeah, hope the conditions will improve. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Good evening.